Welcome to the Fresh RN podcast. In this podcast, we will be discussing various nursing scenarios, personal experiences, policies, and procedures. The information contained in this podcast is meant to supplement your existing knowledge and not replace it. Always refer to your state board of nursing and respective facilities' policies, procedures, and protocols to guide your practice. Thanks, nurses. Stay fresh. It doesn't sound like it normally does. Is it just me?
Oh my God. You know, hospital shows on TV and you're like laughing because that's not real, and then people see you and they're like,
oh my God, preach. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Fresh RN podcast. I'm Katie Kleber.
And I'm Elizabeth Mills.
And we are talking today about nursing work-life balance. Yeah, I know it's
super important.
It is super important, and I think it's really hard. People think you work only 3 days a week. Why is this an issue? But let me tell you, it is.
It's funny because one of the reasons that I chose nursing was I interviewed this friend of mine, her mom in high school, and she was like, I work 3 shifts a week. I'm like, oh my God.
3 shifts a week?
Only 3 shifts a week?
And then they're
so
like 12 to 16 hours long.
And now I'm like, it's a full week of work.
Yeah, I mean, working 36 hours technically is full time, and it makes sense because it's so exhausting, guys. So, let's talk about why it's important, and it really is important because
this is a highly stressful job.
Yeah,
I mean, it's one of the.
Our last episode was just talking about codes and people dying, right. And it's your job to fix it.
And the demands of on nurses on a daily basis are increasing. We have to get better with time management. You're constantly on the go. A lot of times your shifts, you're on your feet all day. You're dealing with highly stressful situations. You're dealing with demanding physicians, demanding patients, demanding families. You rarely get, I don't think I've really ever had an hour-long lunch on a typical day.
Oh, no, that's not a thing.
I'm lucky if I get maybe 10 minutes, depending on how things are going. So that can take its toll. And so nurse burnout is very real. And there's articles, information about it constantly, especially for nurses. Shift work is a big deal. Nurses, there's research and information, not nurses, but people who work night shift, they have, problems with their health usually later in life. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we can talk about just ways to kind of take care of yourself, outside of work and help you to take care of yourself when you are at work. So anyway.
Yeah. So I've noticed too after years, it's kind of like you have to be very intentional with your time at work and not at work, and really looking at issues or opportunities for better efficiency and being all in wherever you are. So one of my things is like, okay, so when I look at things that are inefficient. So like frantically searching for scrubs, like right before I have to leave my house. I don't like doing that. So I'm going to make sure I do my laundry and have set out my outfits the night before or the day before if you work day shift or night shift, or I hate going grocery shopping right after a 12-hour shift. So making sure I'm prepared so I don't, that's like not something I'm routinely doing. And being very, you have to be a little calculated, and by being more calculated, you actually have more freedom, if that makes sense, I guess. So every week it's like I'll plan when, obviously when my shifts are, when I'm going to do some of those basic life things like all of the laundry, do my laundry or grocery shopping or whatever. So I can kind of be all in wherever I'm at. So I don't have to worry about, I got to get my laundry done, or I got to, wake up in the middle of the night to move my laundry up from the, washing machine to the dryer or something like that.
Yeah.
And that enables you to be able to focus on work when you're at work and home when you're at home.
Yeah. And this is something that takes time to kind of, I think, get into your groove of work-life balance. So I want to start off with just saying be patient with yourself.
It is a journey. It's not like you're going to do this right
journey.
week number 1. You're going to probably overextend yourself.
Yeah. Also, the importance of good sleep is.
Preach.
I mean,
I'm doing the Christina Aguilera voice preach gif right now. Preach, Elizabeth.
Good sleep, eating well, and exercise, which is, that's essential for a good life anyway. But
so that means you have to wake up at 5 a.m. that you're not going to bed at 1 a.m.
Right.
Like you can't be functional for 12 hours. Like I think you have to take extra care before those 12-hour shifts to be functional for 12 hours because I'm exhausted. It's like 6 hours, 7 hours in, 9 hours in, I'm still here. It's like you can't prepare for a shift at work like your friend can prepare for his, 8-hour day.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's different. And I think you need to ensure that you're getting the appropriate amount of sleep and allowing yourself enough time to do the things you need to, so you're not scrambling and you have what you need, I guess, if that makes sense.
And if you're not resting before work, your mental clarity is not there. And let me just tell you, you can make a mistake very easily that could cost your patients.
Oh, there was recently an article. I should probably link to it.
That's why they're saying now residents and stuff.
Yes.
Medical residents now, instead of working, 80, whatever hours a week they used to work, they're making sure that they're working less so that they're getting hours for rest, because when you're not sleeping, when you're not resting, when you're not taking care of yourself, and then you're going to take care of patients, you're going to miss something. You're going to make a mistake, which can cost you your license. So
yeah, and you can profoundly affect patients. Like there was a study that was in my, I'm a member of the North Carolina Nurses Association, and their, quarterly newsletter thing showed like this big research study about of people that are not shift work, 12-hour shifts in nursing, and when you're most likely to make errors, on the 3rd day after, or, farther into your 10 hours into your shift. So it's really, so if you start off the shift exhausted and not well rested or doing and prioritizing your sleep, like you're setting yourself and your patients up for failure.
Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about, Katie is a new mom. She's married, so she's got the demands of a family. I'm, single. I have a dog. But let's talk a little bit about what creating work-life balance is for you, being having a family, and then work-life balance for myself.
So mine it's definitely challenging, but I think the cornerstone of it is communication, right? My husband works full time, and so do I, and we have our daughter, and she's not in daycare. It's a little challenging, but what I think it's really important for us, especially when I was working 3 shifts. I don't, if I was still working 3 shifts at the bedside, I would not be. Hannah would be in daycare, but what I found that was really helpful for us and worked really well, because having a spouse is communication. So we talked about it where, hey, if I have a 12-hour shift, it's not my responsibility to make dinner when I get home from work. And we would plan our meals every week where the 3 days I worked were the 3 days of the week that he made dinner. And then I made dinner 3 other days. And then typically we were out or with friends or doing something the 7th day. But I knew on my days that I worked, my responsibility was to get up, get my stuff, go to work, come home, eat, do dishes, and go to bed. So, and we had this have this understanding: if he makes dinner, I do dishes, and if I make dinner, he does dishes. So we're splitting up the work, and I'm not coming home from a 12 to 14-hour day, have to make dinner for everybody, or have to eat a cold dinner, or pick it up for myself on the way home, and then I have to do dishes, and I have to do all this other stuff. I think it's really important to balance that with whoever you're, sharing life with, so that it's not like, because it's one thing if you've had like this 8-hour day where you had time to go to lunch and you had time to do this, but if you've had 12 hours where you haven't sat down and you've barely had time to pee, coming home and being productive at work is like not a thing. And I think you have to plan for that,
Right.
I guess. So being clear about expectations with your family, I think is really important. So, especially with holidays and stuff, because as a nurse, you're going to work holidays,
Yeah.
and that's part of being a nurse. And don't be a brand new nurse expecting to get all your holidays off. That's not how this.
No.
That's not how this works.
You're dreaming.
Probably need to
Ain't
work.
gonna happen.
Oh, yeah, can't work inpatient if you don't want to work holidays, but. Communicating with everybody so you're on the same line with expectations. It's really, really important. And being quick to forgive, slow to be angry, that kind of stuff really helps because, the rest of the world works in 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And nurses don't. So it's really important to make sure you're doing that. And my husband and I make sure we communicate a lot so that, okay, if I have this day off, and he's got to work because that's what happens half the time. My days off are typically, not Saturday, Sunday. Is okay. I've got Hannah all day. I've got her, and I'm not expecting him to come home and make dinner or do whatever. So I guess just the big thing about that is communication about expectations for everybody and staying on the same page, and then also being able to forgive each other quickly because. You're going to miscommunicate. Even really wonderful communicators miscommunicate. So being able to do that. And I think that's really an essential part of work-life balance because how many times are you coming home from work, someone at home or not, like if you have expectations that weren't met, you're frustrated from work or home. So it's important to kind of address those as they come up and try to be better about them and forgive people when they screw up because we do. Everybody screws up. And I think that enhances, then you can enjoy your time with them more if you're not still angry about stuff.
What about like just taking time for yourself? I know it's got to be more challenging with.
It is. And especially it really has been. And I think the important thing, and like we said in other episodes, you really have to be an advocate for yourself.
Right.
So no one's gonna force upon me unless I don't know, like that I have to go do blank. I have to go get a pedicure that I really want to get, or I have to go, go to a coffee shop and just read a book I don't have to read. Like no one's going to do that for me. I have to do that. I have to say, no, I'm getting a babysitter and John and we're going to go on a date and I'm turning off my cell phone. And we have to set those boundaries. And I think we have to do that. And I think I don't know. It's important for us to advocate for ourselves and make that a priority. And nursing is a tough career because everybody else our career is taking care of other people, and it's really hard to take care of yourself sometimes. But it's important. I think a good, there's a line between being selfish and self-care.
Right.
So you're putting the needs of yourself over the wants of others is self-care. But putting the wants of yourself over the needs of others is selfish.
Right.
That's
a good point.
And I did not make up that quote, and I don't know who did, but it's very profound because make sure everybody's needs are being addressed, their basic whatever. I desperately need blank. But, taking care of your needs and self-care is part of that and prioritizing that.
So with me, it's funny because I feel like those same principles have to be tied along with me. I feel like as a nurse who doesn't have the responsibilities of a spouse or family, I find myself sometimes getting really lazy about things. So I'm like, I'm off for the next couple days. I don't need to worry about meal planning.
Right, I got 4 days off.
Yeah, but I find that I can chill out tomorrow. I don't need to make sure I get to the gym. Things like that's easier for me to be, I don't know, more, I'm not compliant, but
disciplined.
Yeah, it's easy for me to be lazy. So what I have got to stick with is some kind of structure, staying disciplined, because exercise, good food habits, things like that are vital. So it's important to stick to that and have a set, I try to make sure I have a set time that I work out on my days off. And I work night shift too. So that's a whole nother podcast on how to balance sleeping and while staying healthy, because you're definitely thrown off when you work night shift. But I think as a new nurse, creating good habits and staying disciplined early in your career will help you later down the road. I know when I started off as a new nurse, I did that, and I feel like it really helped me. And just planning ahead. I know if I've got 3 shifts coming up, the day before I'm working, I kind of plan my meals, because I hate eating in our cafeteria.
And two, that helps with people eating better too, because if you look at, and it's really, this thought process is really easy to go through, is, this shift is so tough, I'm just going to have french fries, or I'm going to get, because I deserve it.
Right.
I've been there, guys. It's like the
Sometimes
toughest,
you do need those french fries.
Sometimes you do. But if that can quickly become the habit.
Yeah.
And that can quickly become, okay, I get my french fries now. Okay, somebody else brought in donuts. Again, I get blank. It's easy for that to become the rule instead of the exception. So it's really important to make sure that you're, if you're consistently planning meals and then you forget one day, or you're like, I'm going to let myself go out. Like that's different, and if you can start off getting into that habit, because I know people that started off every night shift ordering food out and ordering like indulgences out, and that turns into at least 3 shifts a week. Yeah. And that's a lot of indulgences, if you ask me, I think.
So planning and staying disciplined are key. Another thing I think I feel like I experience more as being a single nurse is people love to say, hey, can you come in last minute? I get a lot of text messages, or, can you work extra, things like that. And as a new nurse, it's easy to be like, sure, I'll pick up this extra 8-hour shift and I'll do this and this and this, or sure, I'll come in. But you really should know your limits, and don't be afraid to say no, because I feel like new nurses can get really burned out fast. I mean, guys, working, maybe an extra shift every week is fine, but when you start picking up you're working 5 12-hour shifts a week, that's insane. That's crazy, and you will get exhausted quickly. The money, can be great, but you've got to be able to set time for yourself and get out of the nurse world for a while.
You got to think about sustainability. You can't continue to do that. And
right. You're not going to be able to do that for very long. Mm-hmm. So it's know your limits, and it's great to accrue paid time off and hours and things like that. But I really recommend even if you don't have anything planned, every few months or so, taking a PTO day and maybe just working 2 shifts that week and get some time off. Maybe if you don't have any time or things that you want to, maybe you're just going to stay at home, but just taking a break for, set amount of days in a row is so, so important. Making sure that you're hanging out with friends and family. And let me tell you, like I am part of this book club group of girls, and they have just been like a little lifeline for me, because we meet together once a month, and they work in different careers, and I love just getting out and seeing what other people are doing in the world.
Outside of the hospital,
because I feel like
there's a world out there.
There is, and I feel like when you're a nurse, you're so immersed in this world of medicine and taking care of patients, and you have to do continuing education, and there's hospital shows on TV, and you're like laughing because that's not real, but you're like that
they don't intubate people with the ANCOMs.
Medicine and nurse, it's all around all the time, so it's really cool to just talk to people about what they do, or
I think, and then another important aspect about that too is we go through some really tough stuff.
Yeah, we do.
I actually had, and I talked about it in Becoming Nursey, I had a patient, I think you weren't there, but I think you remember this patient, but I had a really tough patient experience that really hung heavy on my heart. And I was able to, through like my little, weekly Bible study,
Right.
I was able to really get some really good support from a lot of people that were not nurses that really helped me process this nurse situation.
Right.
And I got some peace and some relief and clarity and understanding and trust through that from a whole bunch of non-nurses.
Yeah.
And it was a situation I was carrying from work into my personal life. And it was really hard to have a work-life balance after something like that. And sometimes that happens because that's kind of the aspect of being a nurse, So
it is. And getting kind of just taking a step back. And, it's funny how the world will view us, they view our profession. You hear so many people say, God, I can't do what you do. And then I'm at work and I'm like, gosh, I'm just not enough. I'm not doing things right. I'm not a good nurse. And then people see you and they're like,
oh my God,
you do a lot.
Yes.
And another thing, I, want to stress is making sure you are talking about your problem, like talking about concerns or sharing, how you have somebody to talk to, because there's so much that can weigh heavy on your heart. And with that, I think good things to kind of do are with your group of coworkers, because really nobody understands quite what you're going through more than the people who are working with you.
Preach.
Taking part in some kind of team building. I know I love the holiday time because we always have a little holiday party. And it's so much fun to see my coworkers outside of work, because I'm like,
not in scrubs,
and like, just, I don't know, just to see just kind of how they are. And I feel like that kind of helps us grow as a group. And then there's things like one night, a group of nurses from the ICU, we went to one of those escape rooms. And some of our physicians came too. It was so much fun because it was like a little team building mental thing. And it was a lot of fun to do. And so getting out and doing things with your coworkers is kind of important too. It doesn't have to happen all the time, but if you live in an area, like I think if you can go to like some place that has like one of those ropes courses. Those are fun to do with your coworkers. Going to conferences, getting out, and this is going to kind of lead to the next part, but getting out of the patient care day to day and going to a nursing conference is so much fun. I feel like it's rejuvenating. I know Katie and I have gone to NTI several times, which is like this several day conference. It's usually in a big city. And I literally feel like I've been to like a nurse spa.
It's a nurse oasis.
It is. It's I've come back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love my job again. So that's really, really important. So keep an eye out for those things. A lot of times your managers or people will post stuff about conferences just to get you away. You're still, you still are learning about your job, but it's sometimes just really nice just to, get away and find things like that. And then while you're at work, getting involved in committees or councils.
Truly, this really boils down to knowing when to say no.
Knowing when to say no.
And knowing when to say yes.
Yeah.
So, no, I can't work more. And no, honey, I'm not making dinner after that 14-hour shift. But then also, you know what? I need to go to a conference.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little jaded right now,
yeah.
or I'm getting a little burnt out. I need to go to a conference, or I need to check out a committee, or I'm really interested in nursing research, or maybe I really like precepting and I want to get better at that. How do I do that? And recognizing when you're at this place of kind of complacency and able to say like, hey, I'm stuck and I'm bored and I'm bleeding into the care I'm providing my patients, and they can tell I'm getting a little jaded, and I need to do something about it. And figuring out what you like and what you enjoy, and kind of unapologetically going after that. Like, no one's going to make you do blank or make you go to NTI or whatever conference you're interested in. It's kind of up to you to take that initiative to recognize that you need it, and then go take the practical steps to do it.
Right.
And I think we need to be empowered to do that. So I think, but part of it really is knowing ourselves. ourselves.
Yeah.
And knowing when we can, when we need what, when we need a break. But because honestly, I think people think work-life balance is working the least amount possible. And that's not it. You know, you get into nursing for a reason. You get into whatever career it is for a reason, and you need to be challenged. And if you stop being challenged and you start get complacent, then you're not satisfied with your job. And what can you do to manipulate that to make it so you do enjoy your job? What changes can you make? What can you be a part of? And the wonderful thing about nursing is it's not like on or off. Like there's so many different things you can do. Profession's huge.
Yeah.
So it's up to you though to discover what those are. You know, that's one of the reasons I wrote my latest book, What's Next, was after I figured out those things after 4 or 5 years that I wish I had known 1 year in. I kind of wrote a book about all of those kind of professional development things. But that's half of it. The other half is also knowing when you need to take a break and when you need to get away and advocating for that. So
yeah. And so really it's just knowing, kind of learning yourself. And like I said, give yourself time. You're gonna have, you know, fluctuations and things, and you're gonna have days where you're like, oh my God, I cannot go back to this place again. And maybe you grab some pizza and beer with some friends, you hang out, and then
that sounds good. Let's do that right now.
You're like, okay, I can do this again. So just know that that's going to be part of it. But like Katie said, the great thing is if you're in a place where this is killing me, I can't do this anymore, there's so many other opportunities or areas of nursing you can go work in. And I definitely, I worked at a hospital for 12 years, decided I wanted to go do a travel assignment. Then I went to this other hospital, and now I'm back at the hospital that I started. And I'm so grateful for those experiences because, you know, I was kind of getting tired, and I went and did some other things, and, you know, I feel like it's made me a stronger nurse. So anyway.
Well, thanks, guys, for listening. Check out freshrn.com/podcast for some notes and a couple little, you know, blog post links and whatnot. And check out freshrn.com for some fun gear and, you know, like clinical notebooks and jackets and tank tops and T-shirts and all that fun stuff. And check out some of our other episodes. So thank you guys so much for listening.
Thanks for listening.
And stay fresh.
Keep my cool.